Okay, good morning, everyone. We now have our quorum present. So, let's see. Representative Dines, would you like to join us, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Can you close the door? Yes, thank you. It's a good noisy. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and good morning, Senators. I'm here today as a result of course, yesterday, after when the committee adjourned, Senator Ivy Soto and I were going to be chatting and talking, which we have, about seeing if there was some way to resolve some of the differences on the House Joint Resolution 5. We had a very good discussion. Senator Ivy Soto prepared took time to prepare his draft of what would be potentially a committee substitute, and I've had a chance to review that, and in all due respect, we have great differences, and I'm concerned that if this went forward and became a committee substitute, it's certainly something that I would not want to have my name on the bill or on the resolution. So I thank the chair for giving us the time and opportunity to do this. I thank Senator Ivy Soto, but we're just, there's certain things I stand on, and I'm not able to at this time to agree with the proposal, and therefore I would ask this the chair to roll this measure.
Well, I thank you, and I know that the measure that you introduced for this session is something that still needs to be worked out. And I did pass out Senate Bill 124, but that wasn't something that was in the process 5-6 years in the making, although not introduced very recently until this year. So I appreciate and will honor your request, and I look forward to working with you in the upcoming years.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, and with that, we can still hear comments from committee members. And Senator Arthur.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and I wonder, Representative Dines, if you feel comfortable, just because we are going to keep working on this over the interim, if you could share with us some of the things that you found unacceptable and ways that you would find them acceptable. If you could just share some of those so we'd have some rough idea of what we need to work on.
Madam Chair and Senator, I appreciate that request. I'll be happy to share that with you. Essentially, the proposal that I reviewed removed all the adjudicatory powers and exclusive jurisdiction for the Ethics Commission. In other words, it was reduced to an investigatory body, and that I didn't think was going to help the issues that we have today on trying to review from an independent standpoint ethics matters here in New Mexico. And also what would happen is, even though there was left in there, to Senator Ivy Soto's credit, the fact that the complaint and the response would be made public under the same procedures that we had. What happens with the way that this particular matter was drafted does not allow the public anything beyond that except for what the final findings would be. But if it's investigatory, those findings are simply investigatory findings. It's not an adjudication, so we really haven't moved the ball forward in order to get matters adjudicated. And therefore what happens is, if there's not an adjudicatory hearing, then the public doesn't know and doesn't have access to the information. And so those were the major matters, and certainly some of the procedural things that the senator proposed from a procedural standpoint, the mechanics, many of those I don't think we would have a problem with. But when you come down to it, I think that the strength, Senator and Madam Chair, the strength of what I was proposing were the three provisions of transparency, which I think are very necessary in this, and then the authority to have an adjudicatory proceeding in which evidence would be given and that would be something that is not exempt under the Open Meetings Act unless specifically struck by the legislature. I hope, Senator, that explains our position. And the bottom line is, Madam Chair and Senator, is that I very strong belief that transparency is important. I've tried cases successfully for over 20 years in this area. I've worked in that area for over 20 years in my legal career before I retired. And I think what we have to embrace that. It's not simply just talking about it, but we're going to have to embrace transparency. And it's something that is necessary if we're going to have, I think, an effective ethics commission. And with that said, I believe that Senator Ivy Soto did a good job of going through and putting down his position, and I believe perhaps the position of others. And I really appreciated the candor and the discussion that we had. We're just, I've got certain matters of principle I need to stand on.
And Madam Chairman, thank you, Representative. It just seems to me that was very helpful what you just said, because it puts in light what some of the more difficult issues are in the creation of such a. I think what we're seeing is a coming together of thinking around the fact that we need such a commission. Then it's to what extent there can be protections built into it, and I would just throw out somehow. I mean, it seems to me that there's, and I'll use my own word for it. It's probably too strong a word. Almost a paranoia about an ethics commission becoming used to embarrass or politically damage someone with false accusations. And so, one thing we might toss into the hamper for consideration during the interim, as we work on this, would be some way of, without dampening the need for people to come forward with accusations, if there's some grounds for them, a penalty for those who bring forth false or trumped up charges. Some way of just to kind of protect against that potential abuse of an ethics commission. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on that now, but I just throw that out as something that might be a way to balance it out a little bit more.
Thank you, Senator and Madam Chair. This is always a delicate balance. In our court system right now, you can file a lawsuit, and there are protections if the lawsuit is used for abuse of process, an anti-SLAPP approach, and other provisions that would allow you to have recourse. What we propose is not remove that kind of recourse, but I think you've hit a major point on the head, Senator and Madam Chair, is this feeling that it's going to be abused. And I think that, as I mentioned yesterday, with the Secretary of State's office, those complaints can still be filed. There can still be that abuse. And I was trying to make that point, is that that's out there already. And the First Amendment allows people to talk about what they file in the way of a complaint. I think that one of the things which I thought Senator Ivy Soto brought out was putting in there a provision about signing it under unpenalty of perjury, which then gives you a standard. I think, though, that should also be also required for the respondent. So both sides is an even level playing field. But certain things I think could be worked out in that area, because I do agree that one of the biggest paranoias I've run into is that feeling of being paranoid. And thank you for bringing that out. I think it is something that we're going to have to get resolved.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you. Senator Ivy Soto?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do want to thank Representative Dines for what I think has been a really substantive discussion that we've had, both in committee and as well as we've reviewed several ideas between yesterday and the committee sub that was prepared was one that was prepared with the input of several members of the Rules Committee on both sides of the horseshoe, and represented a collaborative effort. I think it does And I think a lot of what was in that was a sense of what perhaps might belong in the Constitution versus what might belong in statute. And I think that's a conversation we're going to continue to have. But Representative Dines and I have committed to continue to work on this issue as we go forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Again, I appreciate that, and also I will be part of that discussion too as we move forward, Senator, too, because that's something that's still very important for me. And, of course, for the Rules Committee, this measure would still come in front, but there'll be others of us, of course, on the Senate side who will definitely want to have some input into this whole process. Senator Rube.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I hope the public that's listening understands that, and I hope they will indulge us and allow us one more session yet to work this out. But we're at a point where this needs to be done. I'm disappointed that we couldn't get it done this time. I think if we work on this, and I think everybody's committed to this, we work hard in the interim, we can come back this next session and get it done. It's time that it be done. It should have been done by now. And it is often the case in the legislature when we enact new laws or amend laws, it takes a public awareness and pressure and an expectation from the public that we do something. And I think that is in place, and I hope that the legislature will keep that in mind, and that we need to come into this next session with something that's already been vetted and flushed out and ready to go. We got to get this done, and the public is expecting it. And I want to thank Representative Dines for his effort on this. He articulated the need for an ethics commission. I think he has some great ideas. I think some relevant concerns were raised, and I think we can get this done. But again, I just hope that the public will indulge us one more session, and that we have to make a commitment here to get this done. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And seeing none other, again, thank you. I look forward to working with you this interim.
I do too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, let's see, we have Representative Steinborn on House Bill 137. With a Senate member. Lobbying expenditure report. House Bill 137.
Measure, if possible, to 138 first.